think sales is a bad word? When you hear the word sales, I wonder what images come to mind. Whatever your relationship is with selling, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a conversation about how to sell like a good human. Hi, welcome to Conversations with Good Humans. I'm your host, Catherine Brown, and I'm author of the book called How Good Humans Sell. Today on Conversations with Good Humans, I'm talking with Liz Cortes, co-owner of RebelFish Local, a marketing agency in San Diego, California. I know Liz several ways. First, she's a coach I follow. Second, she's a StoryBrand certified guide, which means that she can write great marketing copy, so I always love to see what she's doing. And perhaps, for this context, the most important thing to know is that she's a regular moderator in the How Good Humans Sell room on the Clubhouse app, and we interact quite regularly there. This recording was part of a discussion where Liz shares what she's learning about sales and herself. I chose the conversation to share on the podcast because Liz is a great example of someone who leads with vulnerability as she explains how she and her husband have learned to be better communicators. She tells us how these lessons have positively impacted their business, and she explains how she uses her life experiences to sell with empathy. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Liz, please introduce yourself and tell us, to you, what does it mean to sell like a good human?
Hi, I'm Liz, and lots of businesses, they get frustrated that they are not on Google. So my husband and I have a marketing agency, and we help you get found, get more visible online. And we've been doing this for 7 years and just love local businesses that have physical addresses because there's some really cool marketing stuff you can do online. And I do sales and marketing for our company, and I've had sales teams in the past. And the past 2 years, I haven't had a sales team. We have so many systems and funnels set up that I get on sales calls, and most of the time people are ready to buy and move forward. It's very rare that I sit on a proposal that people don't really want to work with us. And so I love being on this call. And there's many times where I struggled with sales, and I've loved sales my whole life and always did it. And so I'm happy to be here. So how good humans sell? Well, I have your book sitting right next to me. But when I think about like how good humans sell, the word that comes to me is being genuine and being like generous when you get on calls. You know, I really hate wasting my time, and in the past, it's so frustrating when you get on a call and the person has not looked at your website, or they're just like, hey, I need 3 proposals. Just give me a proposal. How much does this cost? I'm like, well, we have prices on our website. Did you check it out? No, like, just tell me right now. And like, can get frustrated in the past with that. And now, I think when I get on calls, I just really want to make sure that we're a good fit to work together. And just because someone maybe is having a hard time, like yesterday, the sales call I had, the woman, like, she looked like she had been crying, and she kind of just got straight to the point. And I'm like, hey, like, so I'm like, cool, like, let's get straight to the point. And I did that. But throughout the call, I could just tell like she was dealing with something, and I didn't know her enough. And I try to like make light of some things, or like little joke or something like that. But I could tell she was dealing with something. And so I think that's another part, is to just be aware that you are working with a human. They're not a robot. It's not like the Slack chat bot or whatever you're working with. They're human, and everyone before you get on the call is dealing with something. When you get on the call, I think you need to treat everyone like a human being and be genuine and be generous with them. And if you wasted 15 minutes because someone did not choose to check out your website or really like do their research before doing the call, that's okay. There's going to be other people to work with. So that's what I think that's what it means to sell like a good human to me.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate, I feel like that's like our tweet for the day. Everyone else is a human who's dealing with stuff too, so be generous. Be generous. You have the best laid plans, and you even try to have a contingency, and stuff just happens, right? It just happens. So I think that's really lovely. I want to give Liz Heiman a chance to introduce herself as the other as important and beloved Liz on the couch with us today. Would you introduce yourself, and do you have a question or comment for Liz Cortes about what she said so far?
Thanks, Catherine. I love that there's two Liz's, but we will definitely be confused. I'm Liz Heiman. I'm a sales consultant, and I help businesses build the sales processes they need to scale. So I really focus a lot on process, but I focus on process because I believe that when we have process in place and we have all that supporting stuff, then we can then we have the freedom to be creative to solve problems for our customers. And I love having some of the noise gone and the decision making gone because the process is in place, so we can use that creativity where we really need it. So that's what I do with my clients. And Liz, I love the things that you said, and I guess one of my questions for you is, I love that when we're talking to people, when we're aware and when we're hearing not just the words that come out of their mouth, but their tone of voice, the silences, all of those unspoken or unmeant indicators that there's a problem, that we have the ability, if when we're really listening, when we're really intentional about our listening, we have the ability to hear that stuff. And I love to hear more from you about this part about selling as a good human. How do we listen? How do you really listen for those cues? How do you hear them instead of just hearing the words that you want to hear or just the part that you want to reply to? So that's my question for you.
The past 5 years, I've done lots of counseling. I think that's been the best thing. I work with my husband, and so we have done marriage counseling, and our marriage counselor is also a grief counselor. So we've lost people over the past 5 years, and we love counseling. But what has really helped us is they're always giving us exercises to listen to each other and repeat back. So there's this little game called the game, the game, Ungame. You can get on Amazon, and you can play it with your family. And all you do is ask the question on the card, and you share 2 or 3 sentences, and then the other person repeats back what they said. So you get to learn cool things about your family, your friends. But I don't know if that's really the real rules of the game, but that's how our counselor has us play it. So we do that every day for 5 minutes. And so I'm actively listening and reflecting back what I heard. And I have just seen, by doing that with my husband, that rolls over into my sales calls. And so that's one thing. A second thing that really I do is I'm constantly listening for the questions that people ask. So I listen to the interview questions that Catherine shares or other podcast interviews. I'm like, well, that's a great question. And I just make lists of questions, and I'm just amazed by these questions people come up with. And I'll come up with a list, and then I on calls just try to ask more questions and do more listening than me talking on a sales call, because you can learn so much more if you're listening on a sales call. And now we're on Zoom. Most of the time people want to do Zoom. I was used to sales calls where I don't have to do my hair and my makeup every single day. I can just jump on a call. But now everyone wants Zoom because people are at home or they're not seeing as many people, and they want to be on camera. So I guess the third thing is I love watching body language YouTube videos. And so I learn a lot from people analyzing true crime, body language, whatever stuff from the police videos, or just different reporters or people being interviewed on TV, and these body language experts are reviewing their body language. And so I think that's also really helped me to slow down and pay more attention to what the person's dealing with.
Liz Cortes, the game that you just mentioned, I just pulled it up on Amazon while we were talking. So you're saying the Ungame, Ungame, and it came up as the Ungame therapy. You're saying that's a tool that you use in your family that you feel like has helped in selling?
Yes, it's red. There's a red one that's called for family edition. Then there's a green one for couples edition. I have that as well, but we've never used that one. But yeah, that is something that's really helped. It's just a list of simple questions. Like yesterday, we play at lunchtime, my husband and I. So we take an hour for lunch, and the first 5 minutes is to play that little 5-minute game. And so like yesterday, one question was, what are 3 things you want to accomplish in the next 3 years? And it was cool. My husband's like, yeah, I want to be sitting in my hot tub in our backyard, and our kids are in the pool playing, and he just like started listing these things out. And it's like, you don't normally talk about that stuff with your spouse or your friends or share. And it's just whatever comes up. You only have 5 minutes. And so, yeah, that's really, really helped me with selling. I've noticed a huge difference, I guess, in 2021 since I've been doing that exercise every day.
That's so cool, Liz. One of the things that I enjoy that I think is true of the people who have come and stayed in the community here with us is that they're learners and they're always looking for ways to take an application from personal to business or business to personal, and they see all those things as areas of their life that can be in harmony and not be totally separate. So Rick, so glad that you're with us as a co-mod today.
So Liz, you talked about listening. And listening, I think, is one of those skills that is so critical and so under-considered for selecting salespeople. A lot of salespeople are hired on how they talk, or for product knowledge, or used to work at a reputable company. Often for smaller organizations, you need a different level of skills and to really understand how to do that matchup and figure out if it's a client that you want to work with and it's a good fit for you. So are there some things that you've learned that's made you a better listener?
Man, I always try to be a better listener. I think that's why I love podcasts, or even Clubhouse. Sometimes if people aren't on here, it just turns into a podcast. You don't have to do any listening, you just talk. But I think what's really helped me to an understanding, like even yesterday, I wrote down like 4 questions that were phrased in a really great way from the sales call that I did. And I was like, man, this would be a great blog post, which I do have one of my awesome writers on here. And she also does some copywriting for me as well. And so I made a list because I'm constantly listening. I think that's also part of it too, is yes, I want to get the sale and close, but yes, I want to create content. And so I'm also listening for what are the questions that I'm getting asked, so then I can give that to my team to say, hey, we need to film a video about this question. We need to write a blog. Maybe we should add this to a page on our website because I keep getting asked this question. And so I think I'm accomplishing multiple things on every single call. Even when I'm messaging someone on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I also do texting, two-way texting through our marketing strategy when people opt into my free offers. And I think I'm just always curious, like, what questions are people asking? What are they looking for? And how can I be more efficient with what I'm delivering? And I guess I'm a techie type of person. I like techie and science fiction and all the science stuff, but I'm always analyzing the results, the numbers that I'm getting. And it's not to compete with anyone else, like it's with myself, but I think I'm doing multiple things always at the same time. Like my brain goes so fast. And I know like when I like hire teams or hire people, I know like my brain it works, I think, differently. I don't know if anyone else's brains, you're like, how can I handle this much information or like sort through everything? And almost all of my top 5 Gallup strengths are sorting strengths. So they're influencing as well as sorting. So it's just give me lots of information. I'm going to sort into buckets and then within less than a second, I'll like know what to say or what question to ask to dig in more. So does that answer your question, Rick? Kind of went all over the place.
We know that you look at somebody and they, hopefully they're blessed with 2 ears. Those ears don't always hear as well, especially from a sales perspective. I've heard the expression having happy ears. That's when you hear what you want to hear, not necessarily hear what is truly being said, and to think critically in the moment about what is being said, what isn't being said, and how it's being said. I'm fortunate that my lovely bride has probably the most keen sense of hearing of any human being I've ever met, even to the point of intonation. If I call her and I'm on the phone and she can't see me and I'll say something, she'll be able to understand. I mean, even with just a hello, she'll say, "What's wrong?" Or "What's going on?" Sounds good, sounds bad. And she can tell that difference in intonation. I either don't have that, or I haven't found a way to tune my brain for that. And I'm constantly trying to be better at listening. And I guess I was just looking for if there are any tips. I think your ungame is an interesting one. And I think it's like a muscle. It's one of those things that the more you use it, the better you get at it. So I appreciate your insights there.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I think it's been counseling. I think counseling is what has like made the biggest difference. Because I grew up in a family that like we weren't allowed to have any emotions except for happiness. Like if you cried, you were made fun of. If the only person that could be angry would be my dad. Like, and we had to deal with that stuff. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago when my husband's mom passed away that's when we started going to group grief counseling. And that's when I learned about emotions. And I'm 36. So I felt like that was late in life. I have had friends that they're 50 years old and they just learned about emotions. And so that first group counseling session, the counselor, I talked to her just one-on-one for a couple of seconds, and she shared about the feeling wheel. So if you look up thefeelingwheel.com, and she said, this week, I want you to pay attention to like how you're feeling. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know what that is, but I remembered, like for me growing up, there was like that little magnet on the fridge that had like cartoon figures, and you would move to like how you're feeling. And like, I hear these days, because kids have been on Zoom or they're not in the classroom, that kids don't even know the facial expressions, or if they do emotions, they're exaggerated like those pictures, because they have not seen people naturally been doing the emotions and the facial expressions and just to understand what's going on. But yeah, 5 years ago, I found that cartoon little chart, and I was like, okay, this is what it looks like when you're sad, or to identify, like, I'm not just angry all the time. There's other emotions going on. And then I was like, this is the coolest tool ever, that now I use it every day in marketing. Every single time I sit down to copyright, write a social media post, write a page on the website, think about what is my ideal customer or client actually dealing with. I have that feeling wheel chart. It's like a wheel up on my screen. I teach it to every single client I coach with. I break it out. That thing has made a difference. And I've been able to quicker pick up. That's how I think yesterday I knew like she was dealing with something. I don't think I would have known that. But it was our first conversation, and I just knew, like, I was seeding. I knew she didn't want to go down that path, and I don't know what it was, but I was like, okay, we'll just do the facts. We'll get it done, and we'll move on until Friday when she makes a decision to work with us. But that's the other thing. So thefeelingwheel.com, that's the one that I like the best. Let me just double check. Feelings with an S. Feelingswheel.com. That's the favorite chart that I like. And I think it just takes practice. So I started using this feelings wheel chart 5 years ago. And what motivates me more is analyzing what customers are feeling when they get on the call. Like yesterday, I could pick up that she was really, really angry with her agency, her last local SEO agency she worked with. And so like I was able to pick up on that, but I'm like new, and I have a counselor that like is helping me like understand feelings and emotions. So use the feeling wheel.
Liz, that was all so powerful, because we really spend so much time not wanting to know what other people's feelings are, not wanting to know what emotion is behind what they're saying, what fears and everything impact the way they say things and what they're saying. And so I think it's super powerful that we start becoming more aware of feelings. But I want to jump back, if you don't mind, to something you said earlier, which I think is really powerful. And that is that you like to have a conversation and then identify what your clients or your prospects said during that and write content about it. And I think that when we're the ones writing content, that's really easy. And I do the same thing, because I think there's so much we can learn from our clients. But if you have a bigger company and there's a marketing person writing content and salespeople doing sales, that magic is missed. And so if we want marketing to help our sellers sell more like humans, to be more human and kind and helpful in their discussions, if we got salespeople to talk to marketing people about what their customers were actually saying, and marketing actually wrote content about that, imagine how helpful that would be for sales organizations and individual sellers. So I love that you brought that up. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks, Catherine.
Absolutely. I went to Traffic and Conversion Summit put on by Digital Marketer. I think that was in September. I think that was the very first like event in San Diego, marketing wise. Like tens of thousands of people were there. It was huge, which was like crazy in September, because I was like, everyone's like, is this okay? Should we be doing this? But that was one of my favorite rooms. It was in the B2B room, and it was a CMO that was talking about this exact topic. And for us, we're a small agency, boutique agency. We have 6 people that work for us. We're small. We have about 30. We have 30 clients, 29 clients. And so we are small. So sales and marketing, I'm in charge of that. So it's a lot easier to blend those two together. But you're right. When it's a large company, that doesn't work. Like in the past, even with franchises, I worked for franchises. And when it comes to sales and marketing, like you have to follow a certain thing, but they're like, marketing isn't like boots on the ground. They don't know what's happening. But then the problem with salespeople is they're dealing with people that day or that week. However, sometimes that's not the whole pie, like what's really going on. And so I think it is so important for sales and marketing people to be in the same room for meetings and to really care about each other's roles and the work that they're doing, so that it can work so much better. Because for me, when I'm creating new email campaigns, like or Facebook ads campaigns, like I'm really paying attention to the sales and the marketing, all the pieces, and that's what's making the decision for it. And I do have a team for marketing. I don't do all the content creation for us, but I do know the overall strategy, and I know what sales are coming in from marketing. And then I know when we need to pivot. Like I already sent an email this morning saying like, hey, this strategy we've been doing over here these past 6 months, is not getting the results that I want. I think we need to pivot to this and write more content over here on this area. And so, I think you need to do meetings with your sales and marketing team, and not just have them listen, like engage with each other, talk to each other, and just get inspired by the roles that each other is doing.
Rick, I think you wanted to chime in next.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Liz, your remarks about the collaborative working relationship between sales and marketing, I think that's something that's talked about often and rarely done well. And having both sides, to the point that we were just talking about, truly listen to the other side. Because I don't think that there's always a complete understanding or complete alignment between the two. If you stop and think about it, sales is a real-time game. You're in the moment. and you're trying to take this whole amalgam and blend of what's going on with the client, what's going on with the competition, what the things are that are most important for that particular client in that particular moment, whether you're in a one-to-one meeting or a one-to-many meeting, if it's Zoom, if it's in person. But there's a lot of things that you've got to be able to factor simultaneously. So the attention span is usually a lot shorter for salespeople because they've got to be in that, the ability to be in that moment at that time when it matters the most and counts the most, and to be able to quickly, to your point that you made earlier, think in that real-time situation, okay, I can think of a lot of things to say. Do I say something, or do I continue to listen, or do I ask another question? So I think for each side to have an appreciation for what the other team does and find ways to connect those two up. I think that's where, to the name of this room, I think where some of the sales magic does occur. I think a book that I've heard or that I've read before, it's kind of one of my inside favorites. I don't share it often, but for those who really care about it, there's a professor named Paul Ekman that was mentioned in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books called Blink. And Ekman is an interesting guy who wrote a couple of books about facial expressions. And one of his keynote books is something called Emotions Revealed. And he talks about the connections between what's going on with our brain and the muscles in our face, and the ability to read an expression and to know what that expression means. And even to a point, fractionally speaking, he calls them micro expressions. You say something, or somebody else in the room says something, and if you're astute, you can look at that person and realize something just happened. There's something that's there, and you have to make that decision about whether or not to respond to that. But you need to remember that and think, okay, that's something that I either want to go back and ask about or go back at some later time. So there's a real richness that occurs at that during a sales call. And if your ears are tuned, even to think about, you hear somebody speaking faster or more emphatically, whatever the case is. I think for sales and marketing to realize there's a level of complexity, a level of richness, and a level of intimacy that when you get that right, amazing things happen. Until you get that right, less so.
I added that to my list on Amazon. Cool. Another person that likes the micro expressions of body language stuff. I just think it's so fascinating. But it takes someone to kind of slow down to pay attention to those little things. And it's cool, like your wife, your bride, helps you, inspires you to like pay attention to that. And another thing I thought of when you were sharing, for like salespeople, I know my sales, and I'm sure we have got coaches and trainers on here, like you guys are amazing salespeople. And so sharing our numbers and our stats of what we're used to probably sounds crazy to like the average, salesperson that's listening in, and they're like, man, when I have this quota meet, it's like so much pressure, it's stressful, like I need to make this happen. Like it's just so much, because the marketing team put together the goal and it's unrealistic to the sales team. Like it's like what, all that stuff. But one thing that I've been just really, really thinking about, and this year, I really want to dial this in with our email marketing and just our upsell processes. So I keep hearing that like, if only 10% of all the people that come to your website buy from you, or like the people from sales calls or whatever, if it's only 10%, well, what are you going to do about the other 90% that came and they were not ready to buy? And what are your marketing strategies? Like, what are you doing for that 90% that didn't buy? What are you doing? I'm sure, Catherine, you probably have all the right numbers. I don't remember all the stats or whatever, but like, I just keep hearing this over and over the past like 6 months that we need to have strategies for upselling current customers into bigger packages once they do come on, and then have marketing strategies for those people that aren't ready to buy, but they're going to keep following you. They're going to stay on your email list. They're going to keep paying attention to what you're up to. They may give you a referral. They may never buy from you. They may never think they ever need your service, but they may buy from you. Like I got a referral from someone I shared yesterday, or 2-3 years ago. We were in a LinkedIn group and had a coach, and she remembered that I do something with Google. I help with Google My Business. And so she referred me to a law firm in New York. And I'm like, hey, that's a perfect referral. Like I haven't talked to her. I totally forgot about her. I barely could remember where she came from. But she remembered. And so she's never bought anything from me, but she remembered I made an impression on her back then. And that I think is really cool. Like, what are we going to do for the people that weren't ready to buy? And not just like discount them. Like what do they need to move down like the stages of awareness, like so that they are able to purchase from you if that's the right fit.
I'm just smiling to myself because this could be a whole series for a month. And you're such a good consultant and teacher. I feel like of all the guests we've had, you have been particularly thoughtful about the things you've given away about how personal development in other areas of your life has positively impacted your professional growth as well. And so my question for you is that I think that people in all kinds of leadership come to learn over time. They know that in order to perform well at work, that they need to have other domains in their life be in tip-top shape or moving toward tip-top shape as best as possible, because we're humans, right? We're whole people who bring our whole self to a sales call and to an interaction with the client. So we want to be well. We want to be well people. So what is something that you're looking at doing differently in 2022 in the non-professional domain to continue to grow and bring your best self to work each day?
Well, I think health and sleep is so important. And something that I've noticed is 2022, I was mostly with my mom. She had cancer. And so anytime I was with her, which I took 7 trips and helped her for half the year. And when I was with her, I put her on a sugar-free diet. So to be sugar-free, also it was like Whole30. So pretty much anytime I was there, I was doing Whole30 with her, which is like paleo with no sugar, no alcohol, and nothing processed, everything made from scratch. And so that year, I had chronic pain for it's been 7 years now, but back 2022, that was, or 2020, whenever that was, it went away for 5 months. And I was just thinking here recently, I'm like, how could the chronic pain go away during the most stressful time? I mean, it's 2020. I'm flying. I'm taking her to alternative cancer places, doing the regular cancer stuff. It's like it's so stressful. And then to make the chronic pain go away for 5 months, I was like, what the? So I was thinking last week, I'm like, what was I doing back then? And I was like, man, like I think that Whole30, sugar-free, alcohol-free, made a huge difference. And so I did notice that over the past few years, like anytime I have alcohol, I just sleep terrible. And like I don't know if that's a normal thing, but I feel terrible. And sometimes it could last for 3 days. And in my job, I mean, in salespeople, we have to be on point. And like here in San Diego, everyone wants to go to happy hour and hang out and like relax. And then I'm like, if I choose to do that, I could be off for 3 days. I could be not closing sales. I could be not writing well, not being creative, just not showing up my best. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, which is really hard because the culture, it's, fun. I love Prosecco and I love like hanging out with my friends and doing that. But yeah, I really think the Whole30, like sugar-free, alcohol-free, is like what I need to do. And I really hope it helps the chronic pain go away again for me, because it's hard when you have pain in your body and you're sitting at your desk all day doing work and like just feeling not good. And so that's something that I think is going to make a huge difference for me. I know it does. Like My husband's like, how'd you sleep last night? I'm like, I slept amazing. I've slept amazing this whole year. I mean, it's been 6 days. Or actually, like, I started not drinking alcohol before that, but yeah, for some reason, I don't think I can handle alcohol anymore. It's so weird. I wish I could. Anyone else like that?
Yep.
Well, Prosecco, that's definitely going to take you a couple of days to recover from, right?
Yeah. Even just one glass. Like, I don't know. I'm only 36. I'm like, this is not for my body, but yeah, the sugar and that and cancer runs in my family. So I'm like, you know what? Being sugar-free, alcohol-free, that's probably going to make me live longer and just, accomplish more of my goals that I want to have. And so, I'm not fully like committing to cut it out the whole year or for forever, but definitely for the next 90 days, I'm going to like do sugar-free, alcohol-free and do the Whole30, which I normally eat paleo. I've been paleo for 10 years. So Whole30 is pretty easy for me, but, sugar-free, alcohol-free. You guys should try it out too. If you need some encouragement, send me a message. I have all kinds of resources.
Yep. No sugar and high water. Those two things helped me lose 60 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing, Rick. Cool.
That's awesome, Liz. Thank you for that suggestion.
About 3 years ago, we've had our agency for 7 years, but 3 years ago, we just noticed we are driving a bunch of traffic through organic SEO as well as Google Ads to our clients' websites. And they weren't getting conversions because back then we did not do copywriting. We didn't change things on their websites. And we didn't do that. And so that's when my husband and I became StoryBrand guides, and we learned about StoryBrand copywriting, their frameworks, their layout, all that copy stuff. And when I learned that information, I literally could not do SEO for any client that had not already worked with a StoryBrand guide to update the copy on their website, because I'm like, if we're going to drive traffic, you're going to spend this much money, but it's not going to convert, I just cannot ethically take your money. But I was challenged. I think, Rick, you were on this call where we're like, do you sell the need or the want? Probably like 2-3 months ago. And I was challenged, like, wow, how many sales have I not gotten because I told them no, that I would not do SEO for them unless they changed their website. And so that's something that I have been like pondering. I don't know what the balance is. I think I might have gone too far to the left of saying no too much and lost out on an opportunity where I could have maybe done part of what they wanted.
Yeah, what does it mean to improve someone's condition? I think that's a really thoughtful contribution. Liz Cortes, what else would you like to share from your own planning for this year to wrap us up that we didn't get to in this hour?
Yeah, so as I'm planning for this year, I've had this dream to start a podcast. We used to do podcast production, and my husband was a co-host. And we've done the planning, record episodes like 2 or 3 times, come up with different shows. We have all the fancy equipment. Other podcasts have used our equipment at our office, and I really want to launch a podcast this quarter. And like so that's the big thing. And that it's just, when I think about 2022, it's really valuable content that is very specific and practical, like seeing behind the curtains. So if someone wanted to do it themselves, I want to put out more of that content, and having more conversations like this. Like, the podcast is called Local Business Love, and we'll be interviewing couples that work together, and all the challenges. I want to have it be like what we talked about today. I mean, there was personal, there was business, it was just so organic of how this conversation went. And my big vision is I want to help 10,000 local business owners really have thriving businesses over the next 10 years. And I really feel like podcasting and, creating more really valuable evergreen content that's showing the exact how-to is what's really going to make a difference, because a lot of the clients we work with, they are small. the husband and wife is doing everything. They don't have a big team. They don't have a big budget. And so that's what I plan on doing in 2022. And I think it's going to really impact sales just to have a lot more content out there and just really helpful resources.
So Liz, when do you think you'll start that podcast? That just sounds wonderful.
Yes. So I have it on my list for this week. One of my to-dos says schedule podcast strategy session with my husband. So I'm going to get that scheduled for next week. And then I have a spreadsheet with about 30 or 40 people so far that I would like to interview. So my second step is to hire a podcast manager to help me with that. So if you know anyone awesome, send me their information, someone organized to help with managing that. But next week I'm going to do the meeting with my husband, but I want to launch it this quarter. So we have all the equipment. I know all the keyword research. I've already done it like 3 times. We just need to put it out there and just really focus more on the bigger picture and who we're going to help versus the stuff the fears, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much work, or I don't have time for this, or all the stuff that comes up. So if there's anything that you guys are really wanting to do in the dream of yours, get some people, put it out there on Clubhouse. So you have people out there in the world that know what your dream is that you're scared to do or procrastinating or whatever, and it will help you actually get it done because you don't want to show up unprofessional or not have integrity.
Liz, it's funny you would mention that about, when you say it, there is this psychology phenomenon that's been tested that's called the saying is believing effect. And it's a play on the word, on the expression seeing is believing. But the saying is believing effects, you deepen your resolve when you hear yourself say it. And I think whether you're typing that or you say it in places like this, I think that is another way the community benefits each other, because you're yeah, I'm going to do it. And I have a meeting and they're going to ask me if my husband and I had this meeting about this podcast. And I was actually thinking about it this morning. I just didn't quite have my thoughts formulated well enough to decide which goals I was going to share. But I've watched people on LinkedIn who have shared specific 2022 goals and said, please ask me about this and please help me accomplish this. And so I'm going to do some version of that. I just haven't decided. I have a fairly long list. I just haven't decided which things I'm going to share, but I think that it will work to my advantage and be a gift to others if I do that. So thank you for giving us that.
Cool, Catherine. I am excited to see what you post.
Interviewed Liz Cortes today, who is an SEO expert. She has a really cool company with her husband in San Diego, California, United States, that is called RebelFish Local, and they do SEO for companies in California. She also has an extensive marketing background and an extensive network of other kinds of marketing consultants. And so go to her for questions like that and follow her. She's big on Instagram also. Instagram's another great place to follow her. Thank you to my co-moderators. These people are amazing. You all, if you don't know Rick and Liz Heiman, follow them. They're here on Clubhouse regularly and just giving from their wealth of knowledge. And I am so delighted that our relationships have flourished because of the connection through this platform. I'm so glad you joined us today. If you would like me to come and speak with your organization about how to sell like a good human, please contact me through the website howgoodhumanssell.com. Thanks, and talk with you again.